Rogers MasterCard, the best no annual fee cashback card in Canada. Visit rogersbank.com.
Welcome back to Breakfast Television for this Wednesday. We're on 4 Wide here. Good to see you. 7:21 in the morning. All right. The Chicago Blackhawks. So, late last week, a player on the Blackhawks roster, Corey Perry, former MVP in this league, former Stanley Cup winner, he's had quite the career. And he was brought in to help mentor Connor Bedard, their first overall pick. Late last week, he just wasn't around the team. And a lot of people thought that was really weird, and the team wasn't saying anything, which was even weirder. So everyone was wondering what the deal was. So yesterday, it was announced that the team had put him on unconditional waivers, and when he clears waivers, he's going to be released outright. And the Blackhawks yesterday afternoon put out a statement that said he breached not only his own personal contract, and he also breached internal policies with the Blackhawks. Now, this is the same organization that for years hid sexual assaults. So this is the type of organization we're talking about here. For them to just release Corey Perry very quickly, a lot of people were interested in the whys. That brings us to the second part of the story. So yesterday, I come in here and open up my social media, and I'm sure I'm speaking for a few people in this room and some of you out there, and there was a rumor flying around regarding why Corey Perry wasn't with the team. I am not going to go down this rabbit hole. That is not why I'm here today, and that is not what this discussion is going to be about. But what you need to know, if you don't know what I'm talking about, is there was a rumor involving Corey Perry and the family member of a teammate. That's as far as I'm going with it. So, and it was white hot by the time the Blackhawks tried to address this yesterday. So they sent out a statement around 2 o'clock-ish Eastern. Kyle Davidson is their GM. At 5 Eastern, he spoke to the media. Again, he couldn't say much about the Corey Perry situation, but he did at some level address the online speculation.
As this is an individual personnel matter, I will not be able to disclose any details related to the initial reporting, investigation, or the findings. However, I do want to be very clear on this one point. This does not involve any players or their families, and anything that suggests otherwise, or anyone that suggests otherwise, is wildly inaccurate, and frankly, it's disgusting.
So that's as close as Kyle Davidson came yesterday to addressing it. It was a 9-minute press conference, and we really don't know anything more this morning than what I laid out to you. What I would like to talk about here is protecting your player, because internet rumors are internet rumors are internet rumors, and some of them you can't stop, some of them are just going to go. But in my mind, the Chicago Blackhawks had a responsibility yesterday at some level, way earlier in the day, to address this head on and say it's not true. In fact, they let one of the players in question actually speak to the media yesterday afternoon prior to their game last night. From a PR perspective, I think this was mishandled by an organization that continuously does this. And if I'm a player in the Chicago Blackhawks organization, I don't feel like I can trust them. From a PR standpoint, where would you like to go with this?
Well, first off, I want to say that the internet right now and social media, a lot of Canadian news agencies are still not on there. And so when it's verified information is not on there, so what you see online right now, be very cautious, regardless of the story. This is another example of that. From a PR standpoint, I could see that during the course of a day, this started to take on a life of its own.
For sure.
They probably put a crisis room in place, try to want to make sure that they were protected, because often you got to protect the organization first, then the player second. This is just the way they'll think from
which Chicago have a long history of doing.
Which is a business perspective. And so they probably took their time to make sure that they really had everything covered off and then move forward. It's hard right now because you have an engine that can move so quickly, and it's still relatively new. For old organizations, this thing called social media is very new. Is it right? No. Should they have done things differently? Yes. Will they go back? Yes. But things move faster than what companies do right now.
Is that line, Frank, I've heard that from a lot of people, Is it acceptable, though? In this day and age, in 2023, and I know the NHL at times is just an arcane machine that reacts to nothing with any level of nimbleness. And we see it week after week after week. I'm not an apologist for this league. You'll find enough out there.
But big corporations.
I'm not one.
Big corporations are often guilty of that.
True.
Often, many.
But is that an excuse in this case, do you think, in terms of protecting your people?
Well, I think it's really the ultimate discussion of, is speaking about a rumor, is addressing it, giving it more fuel, or is it squashing it? And I think we see that time and time again, not just in sports organizations, but throughout. It's like, I'm just going to ignore it and it's going to go away. But I think we're living in a different age. I don't think that's the way social media and just the internet and really media in general is working at the moment. I think you got to address it, and you got to address it quickly, because I think the old idea of, it'll figure itself out, it'll die, it's not the truth, so it'll just go away. I don't think that's the world we're living in right now. And I think it really is important for organizations to have people in them. Even if it's an archaic scenario, you got to have people in there that can move quickly and know the world of social media and can get in there on those Reddit threads, can get in there ahead of it. Because I think this leaves a lot of people very vulnerable, including family members that have nothing to do with it.
People around?
If you're the franchise player in question here that's been subject of stuff, you and your team got to really decide if you want to stay with this franchise. Because they didn't protect you in any way. So if you're the future of that squad, man, you better be watching out for my back and my interest right away. Otherwise, I'm going to go somewhere that will. That's the first thing. Secondly, going back to social media, there's so many. Look, this dude that lives in his mom's basement starts a podcast and wants to just get clicks and is going out there and just throwing out disgusting, gross rumors, whatever they are, without any factual evidence just for that. But now there's not just one of you. There's thousands of you trying to do that, and it's just, it's ridiculous. There's nothing.
The machine, like, that's the journalists do work. They verify. Even before we had this discussion, you waited till we heard the Blackhawks speak about it, so then we could open up.
I don't feel like we could have even gone. I'll be honest. Thank you for bringing that up. I don't think we could have gone down this road unless the Blackhawks, at some level,
100%
acknowledge what happened here, even if they didn't fully. Which I don't disagree with them not doing that. But yeah, I was hesitant even doing this right now. But I feel like I feel this discussion of protecting your players is a very important thing when social media is not 3 weeks old here.
But I think the greater lesson here too is for others is to know that in order to protect everybody and also to be very knowledgeable and to make sure you're reading the right things, look at the source and look at how it's been verified.
For sure.
Yeah, it's not first to the story.
Yeah.
It's who has the story, right? It's not first to
That's
anymore.
basic media literacy 101, but when you're out there and you're like, somebody's telling you something juicy, you want to be able to gossip and do all that, and that's what social media has become. But there's so many people that have, look, it's pretty much free to do it. And you can go out there and spew whatever you want to spew, and somebody's like, oh, did you hear? Next, broken telephone, and that's what's happening.
They're not going to get sued.
No,
but
they're
the
not.
Blackhawks would get sued by,
and a legitimate agency would be as well when it comes to media.
I just don't think PR is as tough as people make it out to be. I've had one last thing, and then we'll go. I've had plenty of people in this business. I saw something online, and I'm like, you might want to deal with this now. And they're like, we'll get to it later. I'm like, no, now. Because maybe they don't get it. Clearly people in that organization don't get it. It's the worst organization in pro sports, and it should have been handled earlier to protect your own players, and they have a lot of questions to handle internally. A lot. We're going to take a break. News with Tammy coming up. More BT after this.